he didn't want to release any of those documents. And there's more to come from what I understand, and they're going to be far greater than what you've seen so far. And what you've seen so far is incredible, especially as it relates to President Obama. Because if anyone thinks that he and Sleepy Joe Biden didn't know what was going on, they have another thing coming.
At this time, you must stay home. Only be outside for food, for health reasons, for exercise, or if you're an essential key worker. Please follow the government rules at this time. You must stay home. Only be outside for food, for health reasons, for exercise, or if you're an essential key worker. Please follow the government rules at this time. You must stay home. Only be outside for food, for health reasons, for exercise, or if you're an essential key worker.
By asking all the moms to step out of the room for a minute so I can talk to your kids. I'll give you a second. Okay. To step out of the room for a minute so I can talk to your kids. I'll give you a second. Okay.
Sort of collusion.
Trump-Russian possible collusion. Trump-Russian metal collusion. Trump-Russia possible collusion.
Trump-Russian potentially collusion.
Trump-Russia possible collusion.
Trump-Russian possible collusion.
Trump-Russian collusion. Trump-Russian collusion. Trump-Russia possible collusion. Trump-Russian possible collusion. Russian collusion.
Trump-Russian possible collusion.
Trump-Russian possible collusion. Trump-Russians collusion.
Collusion with the Russians. Trump-Russia possible collusion. Trump-Russia possible collusion.
Trump-Russia possible collusion.
Trump-Russia possible collusion.
Trump-Russia possible collusion.
Trump-Russia possible collusion. Trump-Russia possible collusion. Trump-Russia potential collusion. Trump-Russia potential collusion.
And the Kremlin and be in collusion with Putin. And the Kremlin and be in collusion and Putin. And the Kremlin and be in collusion.
17 agencies.
17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed.
17 intelligence, 17 of them.
So it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive.
Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
All right, welcome to the Patriot Hour Saturday night red pilling session. Interesting little intro there. My last video. Saturday, May 9th. It's probably somebody's birthday out there, so happy birthday. Nobody in specific comes to mind, but normally somebody says that. So other than that, you saw the intro. Unbelievable. Russia collusion, delusion. We've dealt with it for going on 4 years now. Videos are getting banned all over YouTube, just like ours here. We've been completely demonetized, shadow banned, picked on, stepped on. It's the equivalent of book burning that's been going on back in the day. We've heard of it. It's equivalent now with free speech. Some people say these platforms aren't about that. These are private companies. And, well, they've gone to congressional hearings to get the laws passed where they're not liable, and therefore you can't play some of the games of suppression. If you've deemed to be not liable, you can pass that buck off to the people that are creating. But yet you want to suppress, say certain things are considered conspiracy, but yet you know, CNN and these MSN channels prosper on YouTube. You have not deemed them to be conspiracy when they've been proven to be wrong for 4 years straight now. Again, we got Douglas Cirignano on. We got Fluid Pour joining. These are great people in the movement of us. All we're trying to do is get the truth out, folks. When people take the time, they cut through a living room and they might hear a quick tidbit on CNN about some news story breaking, and in that 2 minutes they get that into their ear and their head and their brain, and then they regurgitate it for the next month. And if you have some different angle, somebody like Doug or Fluid Pour or myself, we look into something for weeks or a month, one subject, and we come back with lots of facts and history and things that really make sense, and we're deemed the conspiracy theorist by that person that has never done any research, but 2 minutes worth or 30 seconds of hearing somebody else tell them something. That's being spoon-fed. All we try to do is promote for you to do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and determine what you can based on that. All right, we're going to get right to the show here. I wanted to open up with a quick little something I've done many a times. And this is just probably the premise for a few of us going through all this. So one basic truth can be used for a foundation of lies, for a mountain of lies. And if we dig down deep enough into the mountain of lies and bring out that truth to set it on top of the mountain of lies, the entire mountain of lies will crumble under the weight of that one truth. And there's nothing more devastating to a structure of lies than the revelation of the truth upon which that lie was built. Because the structures, if you show the structure of how the lie was built, that the shock waves of that, when that gets brought out, will reverberate, and the revelation of that truth reverberates throughout history, and will continue to reverberate for Earth's generations to come. And it is going to awaken people that never even wanted to be awakened in the first place. So that's what we try to do here. And I know this panel has kind of been doing that. So without any further ado, let's welcome the two guests. Fellas, how you guys doing this evening?
Good. Good to be here. Thanks.
Thanks. Fluid Pour?
Doing well.
Doing well?
I'm doing
All right,
great,
we're going to take...
Thank you.
Yes, we're going to take a minute. We got a good amount in here for Saturday night. I know we're kind of competing with the dark White House over there. It looks like the lights are out, so it's going to go from dark to light or something. I don't know. We're going to check that out when we see the lights flip on. But real quick, let's take a minute. Doug, author, Fluid Pour put us in touch from, I think over on the Twitters. He's got a pretty big following. He just had a new book kind of come out. We're here to discuss that a little bit. We got a few keynotes that we're just going to kind of discuss and doing some chatting back and forth. But real quick, introduce yourself to everybody and let them know where they can find the book, and what was your interest in even writing that book.
Oh yeah, well, my book's called American Conspiracies and Cover-ups, and that's the website, AmericanConspiraciesAndCover-ups.com. And I've always been interested in alternative history, and I I wanted to break into journalism. I started interviewing some of the most famous conspiracy theory authors in the world. But then I had enough together. I sent them off to Skyhorse Publishing, and they decided to publish it in a book. I got G. Edward Griffin and Jim Mars, Noam Chomsky, David Ray Griffin, and it's American Conspiracies and Cover-ups.com. So it's also on Amazon. So, and if you Google my name, I've been on some other podcasts and whatnot. But it's good to be here.
Thank you. Yes, we are so glad to have you back with us again. This is our second time with Doug on. If you guys missed the first one, it's available. This is our second. I'll probably label them accordingly. And then I'm going to have him on at least one more time just to wrap everything up. And then I'm going to send him off to a few other people that I have just kind of let them float the circuit. Fluid Pour. Fluid Pour, what is your story? Who are you and why are you here?
Well, my story is simple. 2 branch veteran, Navy and Army, deployed a couple of times, and started researching into this stuff while I was still on active duty because I was seeing some things that kind of bothered me, you know, that I didn't think lined up with the way the Constitution's written and how things were being done, you know, especially with 9/11 and the Patriot Act and all that other stuff. But I just want the truth out, man. I want people to wake up and see what's really going on around them and know that we have rights to stand up and fight against this stuff. We don't have to take this. So that's pretty much, you know, why I'm here, why I'm doing what I'm doing.
All right. Well, we appreciate you. A lot of you know Fluid and just making sure we always have newbies every time. So we want to properly introduce everybody. Well, we're going to jump right into it. Right, I don't know what they're doing up on that TV screen. Looks like they're all leaving the area, but we're going to jump right in. Pearl Harbor, 9/11. My quick background, and we'll probably get into this a little more because I know you wanted to touch base on it, Doug, is a few of the things I was involved in, 9/11 being one in my military time, the JFK, and I guess an order would be 99 was a JFK plane wreck. We were down by Florida, Cuba for 2 or 3 weeks doing some pre-ops, getting ready for a 6-month deployment, I believe, ramping up. But anyway, we were close to being back to... maybe we were actually up in Halifax that time. Maybe I'm getting it backwards. For 9/11, we were down by Cuba for 3 weeks, and we were just coming back up the coast, getting ready to pull back into Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and then 9/11 had happened. It was literally that morning we were due back in. And if you're a big ship up in the Norfolk area, you have to go through the locks, have tugboats pull you through, let the waters be adjusted. So it's a really long process to get from, you know, out in Virginia Beach through the locks all the way back to Norfolk. But I think that time we were up in Canada and coming back down, and then the JFK thing happened. So we were really close. We're like a 911 out in the water. So we did the first 12 hours, I believe. Maybe it was a good 24 hours we stayed in the area. 24 hours for that is correct. It was 24 hours for JFK, because another time we had a shipmate fall off the ship and we only looked for about 12 or 13. And I always remembered that, like, wow, our own guy on the ship, 13 hours, JFK about 24, and a whole fleet of ships came out to relieve us. I think, you know, Coast Guard and all that were out there at the end of it all. But I get that, you know, it was a big news piece, and, it was a Kennedy. So anyway, I'm jumping all over. So we're going to start with 9/11 and what you had put with Pearl Harbor, some of these false flags. I think we're getting in here. Yeah. So what did your book lead into on any of those little angles?
Well, yeah, my book is 12 interviews, you know, and as it happened, my first interview is about the evidence that Franklin Roosevelt let Pearl Harbor happen to give us an excuse to get into World War II. That's the first interview I did. It was an ex-Navy guy named Robert Stinnett who wrote the book. It's a very popular book. And then as it happened, my last interview, and there's a lot of evidence for that. Anybody wants to look that up, you know, the evidence that Roosevelt let Pearl Harbor happen shows you how corrupt government can be, I think. But you want to buy my book, that's the first interview in there. And but the last interview I did, as it happened, I didn't plan it that way, but it was about 9/11 and the evidence that the Bush administration let 9/11 happen. You know, everybody probably who listens to your show probably knows something about that. And so that's how it is in my book there. And for that one about 9/11, I interviewed David Ray Griffin, who's the foremost expert on that. And there's a lot of information. It's about a 30-page interview. One thing that he pointed out is that, he knew, Bush apparently knew that that it was dangerous to go down there for the firemen and the rescue workers because the air is bad. And so the government seemed to know that. And so why did they let those people go down there? About 3,000 of them died, which was the same amount who died on 9/11 when the planes crashed. So is that evidence that, the Bush administration is so immoral that they, let people die, because they knew that the air was toxic, but they let 3,000 people go down there anyway. Another thing is, I don't know if it's a Freemasonry thing, because a lot of people believe the Freemasons want a final Armageddon, a final World War III between the Judeo-Christian and Muslim nations. So maybe this was something trying to lead up to that, because Bush Sr. and Jr. are top-level Freemasons. And afterwards, Bush said, this will allow us to get order out of chaos, which is a well-known Masonic quote. So maybe it had something to do with Freemasonry. But I think we got a new man in there with Donald Trump. But I don't know. What do you guys think about 9/11?
Well, you hit a good point. I'll let Greg answer here in a second. But how about Pearl Harbor, for example? Let's, we know that 80% of the country was opposed to going to war. We just got out of World War I. It was, people were still stained and they didn't get the support. So then did they have prior knowledge to Pearl Harbor attack? And if they did, then they let it happen. Then we had 1 million men run and sign up. We want revenge. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
I was in for 9/11, like I told you. So I saw the wave of people. I'm like, why are you here? At this point, I'm an E5 talking to the young guys just out of boot camp. And well, other than the college, I wanted, I felt like a great duty inside of me after 9/11. I just wanted to do something. So that's a very powerful tool. Greg, would you agree?
Well, you know what? There was one more thing. There was a neocon group about a year before 9/11. They said, we want to remove Saddam Hussein. We want to take military control of the Middle East. But the only way we can do that probably is if we have another Pearl Harbor. This is what the neocon
we need a new
said.
Pearl Harbor. And all the books and all their training guides and manuals, you started seeing that pop up. And short of a new Pearl Harbor, we need a new Pearl Harbor for our generation.
And these were the neocons who worked in Bush's White House that signed that paper.
Fluid Port, what do you
Greg
think
said
on that?
something to me about that. He felt like one of the Supreme Court justices was covered it up. I think he told me that. Right?
Yeah, well, I can't prove that yet, but I'm going to try. So when I started doing my looking into 9/11, something didn't smell right, and there was no airplane that hit the Pentagon, and I don't feel. I see videos where there was a missile that impacted the side of Pentagon. The black suits were all there when it happened, picking up the pieces. There was insurance policies taken out on the buildings. These little things that I found that just didn't add up to me. Now, I even came so far as to see somewhere, and if I can find it, I'll bring it. I'll get it to you, Mike, and to you, Doug. But I found that there was like a training regulation, a military training regulation, how to take down the towers with aircraft.
Oh, wow.
This is just things that these are things that I myself found digging. It took a while for me to put stuff together. I'm a little bit slower on the reading, and just I try to take a lot of time, and if I can't prove it, I'm not talking about it.
Well, and then how about did you guys come across the CIA guy in his deathbed like 3 summers ago? He older man, like, I don't know, 70s or 80s.
Yes.
I mean, just older. And he said that he, was a bomb expert in the Army for 20, retired out of the Army, and then right away got brought into like the CIA as a bombs guy and did stuff overseas for 15 years after the service. And then on one of his last jobs, they hired him to do something to Building 7, the one that never got hit by a plane. And he never questioned it at that point. He's like, at this point, I'm 45 years in the government service for my country. I didn't question things, and I just assumed whatever. And they didn't let him know it was compartmentalization. And then he said it on that day when everything happened. And then he saw that building go down. He knew what he was just part of. But he didn't know until that day. Like, whoa, that went down plane. He didn't know nothing about planes, and it seemed a little orchestrated. So he's on his deathbed talking, and you're just like, okay, that's when people are like, oh, that guy is a kook.
All of us are.
40 years of his life, he wasn't. He was able to have clearances and be in the government and then work for the CIA. But the minute they talk or write a book, they're a kook.
Isn't it great to see that Trump seems to be trying to end all these endless wars? Trump, because he's not part of the deep state, not part of the New World Order. Pulled out of Syria, pulled out of Afghanistan. How many times have experts say America doesn't have any business going in all these foreign wars, but nobody does anything about it? But it seems like Trump is trying to do something about it, and that's a great thing, I think.
Yeah. And I think they keep trying to push him back in. They had the whole Russia hoax that's been really loud for 4 years. Think about how hard it is to try to work out dealings as a president with Putin if you have all that talk going on, like all that kind of lingo. That they almost did that for optics of that purpose.
Hey Mike, when I did a little bit of research, I looked into the Pentagon, and there was $3 trillion in the defense budget that came up missing. It's, the gentleman's name, but he had an office both in the Pentagon where that missile hit, and there was, I think Enron was involved in the cover-up too.
Are you talking about Rumsfeld? Was that Rumsfeld?
Yeah, Donald Rumsfeld. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And we found that. Where'd the money go? Well, destroy the paperwork. There's no paper trail. You know what I'm saying?
That's if you look into that building weird. 7, that third one that fell that day. A lot of people don't know about that third building that fell at 5 p.m. in New York that day. But whatever, there was a lot of paperwork in there too. They had something going on with that first financial banking issue on Wall Street. They're getting ready to go to court for a lot of people, and then the records got destroyed that day in Building 7. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, why would they destroy it unless there was something important there they were trying to hide?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they don't claim they destroyed it. It fell because of the other two really weak in the ground, and that building was huge. It was a 54-foot skyscraper. I mean, it wasn't no baby. It was a huge, awesome building, but it fell in its own footprint. Look at go back to even like Oklahoma City. The thing was there that Clinton won. They had a bunch of stuff out of the state of Arkansas in the state building getting ready to come up. Once he won presidency, they feared at a state level, so they moved it to a federal building, which was the Alfred P. Murrah. And McVeigh, according to his own records, that they were plotting to get some other building, which probably was where that paperwork was kept at, until Clinton won and it got moved because he went to Nichols' house a week before the whole event mattered, and how like they moved the target, we got to go to Oklahoma now, and they didn't. That's why they were there pulling up to 23 different people asking where in the hell this building was, because they didn't know, because the plot changed on them.
That's
and
another
supposedly to get that paperwork. It was supposed to get more paperwork for Clinton to get. They talked about trucks pulling up, people jumping out, paperwork getting thrown in, and then they're like, all right, it's clear, go ahead and let people come in and do whatever you want to do.
That's another interview in my book, Mike. I interviewed the guy who was the Republican whip in the Oklahoma legislature about Oklahoma City bombing. That's another interview in my book, and there's so much evidence that, is more than McVeigh,
Oh, yeah.
So, that's the reason. Yeah.
That's good. I watched a really good documentary on that. I can't remember the name of it now. But, man, that really opened my eyes. So we've all done this research from, like we talk about, I've gone back, Waco, there's just the same people, the same scams, the same little gameplay, it seems, that we've been dealing with. This looks crazy here in this room, doesn't it?
Yes.
You guys want to listen in on this
for a minute? That's a lot of high brass.
Yeah.
Copy. Let me.
Is this a coronavirus press?
Looks like it's over now. They missed the whole thing. Wow. They got questions. Can you guys hear that?
Is that, I can't really hear. Is that live?
Hold on. Yeah.
What? Yeah.
They did not play that. Did you see it kind of the whole time acting goofy?
Yep.
It's like they didn't want that to...
Uh-oh. What's going on? Looking juicy.
But we've had a very, very productive meeting. Our military is very strong, more so than it's been in many, many years. I think I can say.
That's weird, you guys. They didn't really let that, they didn't let that be played. Something was kind of crazy, and then he ended it really quickly, and then they're all like, Mr. President, Mr. President. I was hearing it. By the time I got it up for, I don't know. We'll wait for it. If anyone else is just joining the room, you're watching that, let us know. Seems like they might have announced something pretty big. And that looked all militaried. It looked like the war room type thing. So, all right, let's keep going here. So, endless wars. So Vietnam, they wanted to stay, and we kind of drug that out for a long time. But I think the new one, Doug, was the war on terror. That was the forever war, one that was never going to end. How do you stop ideology? Or for every terrorist you kill, you spawn 4 more because you killed somebody's dad or brother. Isn't that ain't that the way it works? I mean,
Trump's trying to stop it, isn't he?
Yeah, it's just it's like the war on drugs. I sat there and listened to the head of the CIA a few years ago come on, and he's like, drugs are more flourishable in the United States than ever. Drugs are more deadly than ever. Blah, blah, blah. And you're like, whoa, we've been at the war on drugs for 50 years. You think numbers would be down, would be saved. You're getting a grip on it. But he acted like we need more money. It's worse than ever. And it's like, well, are you losing the war on drugs then? Are you bringing them in, Mr. CIA?
Yeah. They get away with all this thing because of the fake news, right?
Yes.
I told you I had a good quote on that, Michael. Did you ever hear what Thomas Jefferson had said about how establishment media can't be trusted? He said, Thomas Jefferson said, the man who never looks into a newspaper is better informed than he who reads them, inasmuch as he who knows nothing is nearer to the truth than he whose mind is filled with falsehoods and errors. I think it's great that Trump is making everybody realize that the media is fake news, and to have a president there making us realize that is great. So everybody will go to Breitbart or the Patriot Hour or InfoWars instead to get their information. That's happening, right? The alternative media is taking over, isn't it?
Yeah. So that was a good point. So he was basically saying it's better to just have your mind like know nothing and be ignorant, or what do they call it? Ignorance is a bliss sometimes, because you could sleep better. You don't know anything, but you'd probably be more right than having been listened to and guided by fake news. I love that. That's great. I haven't heard that quote much. I have heard it, but that's awesome.
Oh,
yeah. So where are we at here? Let's look here. So yeah, no, fake news. Thomas Jefferson. So Q, there is a few ways real quick. I know you were asking about how does one find Q? It's basically go straight to the source, like the 8kun. The 8kun. But we don't do that. I just use like the pub or something. It's taken away from out of the context of that and just put to a nice place where you can either just look at Trump tweets or Q post.
Anybody who wants to can get what Q is saying? Anybody who wants to can get it every day if they.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you do that? I don't even know.
I'm gonna send you. I'll send you
right.
through email, but I'll
Send
show
them the
it.
link.
I'll show you if you look up here on the screen.
All right.
Let me see if I can do this actually.
QMap.pub.
I got that really big.
You guys are convinced that Q is most of the time accurate?
I just think we're accurate. Like as far as we're able to decipher through what's being put out there. It's a lot of public domain articles already. Like everything linked in the last 3 years has been public domain stuff. Like sitting on the FBI's website, or one article over here off of Fox News, or one over here off the Gateway Pundit, or Zero Hedge or something, right? And it's like it's there, but did you come across that one, or are you over there reading stuff off of CNN's or like you said, Infowars? I as far as Q, what did Q call out on Infowars? I don't know if you really ever called it out. He just kind of said, I don't know if there's some kind of connection. See, I don't know. I'd have to look at it. We'd have to pull that up real quick. I know some people are asking about that right now. What was it? Because I wouldn't attack. Like Alex, I kind of came up on him as well, like early on, who didn't. Infowars, it spawned me into lots of many directions. I don't watch too much of any channels anymore because I'm in this mode of just doing my research. And when you're in the intelligence gathering things, it's not good to sit in a room full of 8 people and have a directive pointed at you if you're really trying to get to truth. You should look at things, look at facts, come to your own conclusion, and then go get with the other partner and be like, what did you come up with by looking at this? Well, it led me to the Bank of Rothschild over in, and if that's what they came up with, then you're both on some kind of right track. But normally if you have one person can persuade a group. That's why I've separated myself from the old group think, and I've put myself outside the stable. And I'm a free-thinking person instead of a controlled sheep. So that's the first steps. But I think there was some kind of connection with the business or something that Q dropped on Infowars, whether it was some kind of Mossad
Well, I think they said, I heard some people on the Patriot movement are down on Alex Jones. It appears to me he's always trying to resist the New World Order. It seems like, I think somebody said, Q said he's somehow connected to the Mossad. Is that what Q said?
I don't know if it was like some of the backing of the channel or some of his funding. So I'm going to look at that before I spread anything, because I don't want to piss off anybody. I have no problem. Here's what I would put. I did see one not too long ago where I think Alex had this other author on, this guy that I got a book up here. I think he might have sent it to me. I don't know if it was the same guy, but he was really upset and questioning the heck out of this guy about who's Q. And it's just like, I'll tell you this. You should allow people to naturally, decide who they, you shouldn't spend an hour attacking a source. If you believe the source not to be true, leave it alone. That's the best thing you could do, because anytime you come on, if I came on here and sat for 1 hour and attacked any one individual, even CNN, let's just use CNN for an example, I don't need to take my time to do that. I already know they're shit, so I don't even pay attention to CNN, and I don't really try to tell everyone, other than a snide comment I'll maybe make like, they're pretty fake newsy. They are fake news. And I've never really done that for Infowars because I don't consider it to be, fake news. As far as connections, I don't know all that because I haven't done the research either. But there was a little post, and I'd have to go back and look at that. And I remember early on, it wasn't even calling them out. I remember it was like there was some words. It was Jerome. I think it was Jerome Corsi even. It was those who do this, those who try to get you to pay for information.
Hey, I just read an unbelievable article in the Epic Times.
And then those people came out.
It's an investigation into the
and kind of like, well, they're attacking me. Q's attacking me. And I was like, wait, he never said your name. He just said. So it was kind of like the, I'm going to say something, and then people that felt guilty raced out to be like, oh, Q said we shouldn't have to pay. And it was like, wait, Jerome, he never said your name. Not at first, or maybe he did eventually. I'm a little confused on all that. Do you remember, Greg, at all? The Alex Jones?
I do not. I do not.
We can pull it up, but I don't know if it's worth it. We can do
Check
it in the next
out.
one.
Do a search.
I'm going to do it. I'll do it. We'll get to the bottom of this. Wait, is that Trump talking now?
I think it is.
I don't think it's not live, though. They must have pre-recorded that and didn't want to do it live, you guys. Or that's an old one. No big deal. We're just going to keep on moving. We got 1,200 people in the room here, so it's a pretty good one. I want to mention again, Doug, why don't you take a minute to tell everyone where you can get your book at and just remind them.
Thanks. Well, it's right there, American Conspiracies and Cover-ups. It's a book of interviews with some of the most famous conspiracy theory authors in the world. Jim Marrs, Noam Chomsky, G. Edward Griffin, and 9 more. American Conspiracies and Cover-ups.com. Got to put a slash between cover and ups. So, thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Yes, it's not UPS. That was funny. No, and so initial problem with Jones. Oh, here we go. We got some good people in the chat. Initial problem came with Jones came when the disinfo hit Q. Alex denounced Q as a LARP. That was another thing. I didn't watch that one.
He do that.
Well, he sat there and he goes, we got our guy. He goes, we got a guy named Zach, and he's our intel, so we got pretty good intel. It was almost like a battle of who's got better intel and watch us here. Yeah. So I don't try to get into that. I'd go on to Alex Jones if he ever wanted to talk. I wouldn't be able to talk for Q or defend Q or answer all his questions about why Q would say that, because I don't know. I'd say we look at that information, and if Alex can 100% prove, that's what I would do, is just prove that it was a lie instead of attacking the whole damn thing, because if Q is a person of 9 or less.
Yeah. Does he think people who follow Q are misguided? Is that what he said, Alex Jones?
I don't know. I'm not sure if I heard that. I can't go that far. I couldn't go that far with it. Like, I don't think I heard Alex say that.
He didn't. I don't think he ever explained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The couple things that I haven't watched 3 years worth to try to uncover what he's gone into, but I had seen a few because they'd come around the movement like, oh, here's him saying this. And that's an issue with me when anyone would say, don't listen to that, but listen to me. Because if you sit there for an hour trying to tell people to not listen to this and don't listen to that, but I'm here, I'm going to tell you, that's a little selfish. That's a little issue with people, man, nowadays. We don't want to be, we got to figure that out.
I think he's a good guy, but maybe he has a big ego, but I think he's a good guy.
No, no. I don't put him into a, evil category at all. I think I've gotten more good out of him in all my years. I cannot throw that, under the, hey, he's been banned. He's got all the same issues that we've all dealt with. So he's got to be doing lots right. We saw him down in Virginia as well. Owen Troyer and him, and they had the truck down there, their armored vehicle and stuff. So he's around, folks, you can't deny that. As far as, he's screaming on that blowhorn, keep your Second Amendment. That sounds pretty good to me.
Say he's the
Everybody
reason
has
Trump
a different.
got elected.
Go ahead, one of you.
It's the reason Trump got elected. So many people follow him, and he supported Trump. So.
Yeah, no, and I know Trump went on to InfoWars early on, but while he was running, I remember catching that one. So it's not that I don't watch any of them anymore. I just am busy myself, but I do catch little. And he's not on YouTube anymore. Sometimes people grab his stuff and bring it back up, and you'll catch a cool video or something. But so what else? Conspiracy introduction to my book, The Gulf of Tonkin. That's a good one. Just talking about Vietnam. So in 85, we know that the rules of engagement got released, or 84, 85. The rules of engagement in Vietnam got released to the public. That got, my dad was he's got 2 Purple Hearts, shot twice in Vietnam. My dad was a Marine Corps canine handler. So he actually had the dog. His dog's name was Shadow. Every dog I had growing up was named Shadow. A lot of them were German Shepherds as well. So, Gulf of Tonkin incident, we know that like Robert McNamara and a few other officers ended up coming out and admitting that it was a farce, a hoax, that they were put up to it, that nothing got fired upon. It was literally made up to give us the pretext to enter into this war. Is that what you uncovered in the book, Paul? Or?
Yeah. Well, in the introduction to my book, I wrote 5 instances where it's been proven that the government engaged in a conspiracy, and I included the Gulf of Tonkin in that. That's what started the Vietnam War, and it was total lies. You know, the commander of the ship said that North Vietnam fired on a ship, but then it was proven that they didn't, and McNamara and Lyndon Johnson knew that, and they admitted it later that they knew it, and there's no question that there was lies and whatnot. Even Johnson, a few days after, he said, "Those stupid sailors, they were just shooting at flying fish." You know, he knew that. And you know, look what happened: 58,000 Americans died, and 2 million Asians based on a lie. You know, this kind of thing the government does, right?
Yeah, that's you can't overlook that, folks. And then I was talking about the rules of engagement. That was like given to the Viet Cong. They had that, like they knew those rules that American soldiers couldn't fire upon them if they crossed lines in certain areas. So they'd hang out in those areas, like hoping that we'd abide by the rules. And then they'd cross over, shoot at us, cross back, so we couldn't fire back. They were and we didn't get those. Our soldiers didn't know those rules of engagement till 1985. I mean, like years out of the service, the crap gets declassified, and this was given to the enemy. And they're like, well, damn, they had, a little bit more knowledge than us on how to act. And what the hell? It's just scammy, These are our kids, that they're able to dupe with propaganda and fake news for all these years to a lot of parents take pride, like my kid's going into the service and fighting for our country, but it's not really fighting for our country when you send people over to other countries' civil wars. And we couldn't even do our own here. We saw our own country flip out, and Trump's like, I'm going to send some of our Marines and Army down to the border. And people are like, how dare you misuse them like that? And I thought, whoa, isn't that one of our biggest things, is to protect our own borders? If we're getting invaded, there's no invasion down there. And it's like, we got 20 million people in our country. What does it take to be considered an invasion? Do they have to march with gun and come in by force? I mean, they still fly their flags once they get here. They get little houses and stuff, and they put their own flag. So they're flying their flags. They kind of came in illegally, and we got 20 million, maybe 30 million. Is that not an invasion?
20 million, wow, yeah. Plus, they're bringing a lot of heroin and fentanyl, and
then
they're bringing a lot of
crime or
underage
disease.
Kids that they want to turn into prostitutes. That happens.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't we close the border?
My whole life, I thought the whole border issue was just about a hungry woman and a hungry kid, and that's what everyone shoved in my face. So that was kind of hard to I feel compassion for that. I'm a human. But now you're older and you find out the media didn't tell you about the tunnels, the drug trafficking, and human trafficking. Yeah. So that's a huge, they said 30%, these like guys are down at the border grabbing kids, and the kids are kind of trying, I don't know this guy. And everyone here's like, you can't separate parents from kids. I'm like, some of these aren't, like, they're being kidnapped. Yeah. And we do the same here.
10,000 a year are being brought over to turn into prostitutes. And that's another thing that Trump is doing something about. The Obama, he didn't do much about trying to stop the child trafficking. Trump has arrested like 100 times more child traffickers,
and put in all the executive orders to like take money back from people if you're found to be involved in human trafficking or human rights abuse. That they're going to take all your business money, just everything, and it goes back to the government for human rights abuse, basically. I'm like, wow, that was like one of the first executive orders he did when he got in, and I was like, something's going on here, because if he was involved in human trafficking, he wouldn't be putting in executive orders to seize money and all this stuff back, because you don't do that. The New World Order is about open borders. Trump's sitting here trying to secure them. So that's how we know. We don't have to be told, I think he's involved with the New World Order or he's not. It's just look at what he's doing, because it doesn't it's not logical to be like, well, they're going to an open system. He's like, well, then why is Trump talking about sovereignty and trying to get our fence up to keep us in? I was like, well, one way or the other, folks. Are we New World Order or are we sovereign? You know,
the speech he made at the United Nations was totally anti-New World Order. He was like just saying, we are not globalists, we are patriots, stand for sovereignty. You know, this guy's, he's not working for the New World Order. That was a great speech that he made at the UN, you know?
Yeah, I got a video. I got a video where I broke it down with some music, but it's like I'm writing things. Like, listen here, he's telling him, he's like, we're not going to mess with your country and tell you how to live, but nobody's going to do that to us either. You know, it's like this equal playing field type, like, you know, and I think that's what it really boils down to is our ties and embeddedness with our Walmart and China and having so much grasp that the communism comes in through our labor and stuff. These companies act like they care about the border when it's going on, like, oh, they'd be compassionate, but it's really, they just want the illegals here for cheaper labor. It's not about, you know, they act if they cared, they can take some of their huge profits and just give money away. They don't do that. They don't do that. What do you think, Greg?
Trump is fixing it.
Is he all frozen? Oh, he's down there. He blinked. I thought he was frozen.
No, I'm not frozen.
What do you think, brother? You learning something here?
Yes, I am definitely learning. One thing I wanted to bring up, don't forget to show him the qmap.pub.
Yes, okay.
And secondly, yeah, I don't know enough about that to speculate, really. I'm not going to say something that I don't know. I have a lot of research left to do on a lot of things. I don't know a whole lot about the Tonkin Bay. I have to get on that. And I know that was what was used as the false flag to start the war. That's all I know about it.
I would say look in right away with the 1913 Fed Reserve, and right away they get to business. We get the World War I, we get the Spanish flu, we got the sinking of the Lusitania. They threatened, I think it was, don't sell that ship over here. We'll put a hole right in the side of it. And I'm like, sell tickets, and loaded it up, and they sold it right over there. They wanted that to happen. They wanted a hole in the side of the Lusitania so they can have another pretext. Oh, look what they did. You get people behind it. Rah, we want revenge. It's a typical, that's history repeats itself, folks.
Yep. I think you guys were talking about that, and something that kind of hits me is that he can't prove Q's real, so he tends to stay, on the side of politics and what he's seeing versus thinking that the good guys could have a plan in the background, to recover what the bad guys are trying to steal.
Yeah. All right, let me break this down just for everyone in the room here real quick, and then Doug will see it as well, but I'll send you this. But it's very simple. Up here, the https // all it is qmap.pub / and that's it. It'll get you right to this. Log on. I'm going to send it to you.
All right.
I will make sure I can send that to you in email. But as you see right here, it tells you 4,194 drops so far to date. If I want, I can click this blue POTUS on, and it'll bring in POTUS tweets in coordination to Q drops. So if you had Q drop 4,194, and then Trump just tweeted maybe 10 minutes ago, it would fall in between here. I can turn that on real quick and show you. So I clicked on, and now you'll see a Q or a Trump tweet. There's one. Wait, no, is it? No.
I think there we go. Oh, there you go.
So it tells you right here, POTUS tweet 15,587 Trump. So you can see the last one he tweeted was at 4:17 today. A little video, a bar. And then all these are Q drops since then. It looks like a bunch of.
Yeah, show them the left button there for notable deaths.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn off the POTUS tweets. Now over here to the left is cool. You can go to proofs and memes, and if you click on the proofs and memes, it'll just take you to this 559 proofs. That's funny.
Ooh.
Der Bush Gurgen Trump. So anyway, these are kind of funny, but here's a prayer wall. The global themes These are cool because you can click on the global themes and break down all the Q posts. They're broken down into 99 themes right now. And if you look into information warfare, there's 99 Q drops on that category. And it'll tell you it'll tell you a little bit right here. There's a silent war raging right now, and the battlefield is your mind. Information warfare is manipulation. So anyway, then you can click right here, Q drops, and it will take you into only the Q drops that involve information warfare, 99 of them. Right here, about 8 Kun and Anons, 92. Resignations, there's 84, talking about all the resignations that have taken place with the, since November of 17, there's been a worldwide mass exodus of corporate CEOs resigning, politicians stepping down, not seeking re-election. And this volume of resignations is unprecedented, unstoppable, and all because of POTUS. So you can click onto those. We got the bloodlines. You got Uranium 1 topic, all about Uranium 1. So this is a good place to come in and go into certain areas that you want to learn about U.S. Army Corps of Engineer, impeachment, military tribunals, treason, just things like that. How about all the original photos that Q's dropped? 95 of them. These are powerful Q proofs, and they're originals that were never, ever anywhere on the internet before he dropped them. So we got players in the game. You want to learn about the players? There's 122. It'll tell you about Jerry Nadler, what the best thought is. Now, this is not Q-RAN. This board is just private, and this is the best thought of these people. It might be wrong. There could be bad, what I call bad Q decodes, because this is just a human being or a bunch of us looking at it. But, best thought, Jerry Nadler is a traitor. He's a pawn. Ted Cruz is a patriot. Sarah Carter is a patriot. Theresa May, British politician, traitor, So you got all the people in here. Jeffrey Epstein, he's evil, So, and then some of them will tell you like flipped. Like Whitaker, he was a stealth bomber. William Barr, patriot. Bob Goodlatte, patriot. Bill Maher, evil. Bill Maher. Some of them say flipped, freed, like this guy, James Baker. He was flipped. He flipped, and they freed him. And he maybe went, was working with, Lindsey Graham, flipped and freed. So we'll keep going. Notable deaths. You can look at all the people
Go to
dead.
No Name.
It goes into some of these people and some of their suspicious deaths surrounding everything. Epstein.
Oh, wow.
Videos, resignations. Here's a good one. So in the resignations, there's 12,000 so far. You can see the dates: 27 March, CEO Frank Steiler, country Germany, and where he left from, and sometimes for what reason. You can kind of just go through. It's all around the world. We got executive orders put in. You can look at all the executive orders on the dates when they were signed. Human trafficking. A lot of great info. Yep. Here's human trafficking, like you were talking about. Gives you dates, tells you how many rescued, how many were arrested. So sometimes you'll see like 9 or 12 kids rescued, 4 people arrested. You can click on the links. It takes you straight to the articles. And I mean, there's a lot of, this is a hub of information. Here's all the sealed cases. It's a map. You can see there's 169,981 sealed. And then if you click on like your home state, New York, you can see there's 9,880 sealed in the state right now.
Oh, man.
You come to like Indiana, we got 3,967 sealed. So far in the year, there's been 365 unsealed. And then there's just been non-sealed 2,480. But yeah, right now we got about 4,000 sealed indictments that are, involving criminal cases. Go to Cali, you're going to see that, 28,662. So around the country, it's, nobody knows what a sealed indictment's about.
Oh, I see.
But you can speculate. Now, this map, funnily, we've been looking at it for a couple years. It's been mounting. kind of lines up with like when the coronavirus map first hit, or the DUMS bases. You ever heard of DUMS, Deep Underground Military? It kind of lines up with those as well. Yeah, so we don't really. So we got sealed cases. What's the last one here? Analytics. Network graph. I don't know if that one's been updated, but. So there's that. That was kind of. I'll send you that link, and you should definitely just play around in there and get lost. You can't really go wrong.
A lot of info.
So yeah, the JFK thing for myself. Like I said, I was on a ship of 6,300 fully manned aircraft carrier, USS George Washington, folks. CVN 73 aircraft, nuclear aircraft carrier. We got that call, and it, we did the most we could. We sent out some search boats. If I remember correctly on that one, I didn't leave the ship. Into the night, we start using NIFTYs, which are Naval Image Thermal Imager, $10,000 handheld things you look through. And we were looking around the skim of our ship for any warm body, or that was even the other time we had a guy fall off our ship. We were doing that. But then you'll send search boats out, search and rescue, multiple little boats and rib boats to do the best you can, because when you're looking in the ocean. My ship was involved over in the Persian Gulf in a Gulf Flight 77, I believe. It went down in the Persian Gulf in our on our 2000 deployment, and 188 people are on board, or 170. They all perished. It was a straight just plane wreck right into the water, and people from my ship were involved in that for the cleanup, and they basically just found floating bodies and kind of put them onto flat barges. And then we turned it over to the Saudi Arabian Navy, and then they tugged that in, and that's a plane wreck cleanup, after a commercial airliner went down. The JFK one, we didn't see nothing that day, and that in a short amount of time. I think it was a week or days later that you talk about, I've heard things as far as 17 people went to the funeral that they had, burial out to sea. They lost all the tapes. They don't have any of the tapes left of that footage of them going down and getting them planes. All the divers were relocated after the rescue mission. So there's lots of crazy things surrounding the.
What do you think? What do you think happened? I think Greg has an opinion on that too.
I think my honest opinion is that JFK Jr. was thought to be not doing what people thought, like he was going to go and be a politician. And people are like, well, he was probably stirred away, and they were scared for him because of the Kennedy curse. And I take it to be the opposite. I think he did look into his dad. I think he had a good Secret Service guy around him, because I looked into that. He would have had a Secret Service until he was 18. The mom would have had one, Jackie, until she was passed away. But so they grew up with Secret Service. That probably became his dad type thing, playing baseball, throwing a ball in the yard. And I think they had conversation. He probably asked about his dad a lot. And I think the Secret Service guys were telling him, your dad was a good man, and maybe gave him some truth, and it spawned him off. I mean, we know normal researchers have looked into his dad, wrote movies, did books. Why wouldn't your own son? And they say he dug really deep, got to some truth. That's why he came out with the magazine George. That was a second phase, and that was a name. That was the name of his killer. That was the name of his dad's killer, was George. Yeah, that's one thing I've heard. So he put it right in plain sight, George. And then also when he had all the evidence gathered up for that, he was going to be able to report it in his own magazine, because he controlled it. Because you couldn't go to a controlled newspaper. So. I think he came across that bomb on the plane. If that's the case, a little remote. It was a remote alternator detonator, that a certain altitude it arms, and once you come back down under that altitude, it blew. I think they caught that. I think he saw it. I think he was taught to look over things really meticulously, and he spotted it. And maybe they pulled that plane back into the hangar, and maybe whoever planted it was watching from afar with binoculars, and they saw him not get on it, but they didn't know quite why. Maybe he had to put it back in the hangar, but maybe he got a hold of somebody. They made a move. They really quickly moved, because if he didn't blow up, they were going to come back. They're like, look, in 2 years you'll be pumping gas at some gas pump. they're going to get you. They're eventually going to get you. So I think he said he needed to die and go under. So there's a couple possibilities. Either he really did go down, he was able to fake his death. Both of them are very, very feasible.
Yeah. There's a good YouTube video about that, and according to that YouTube video, there was another person in the plane who sabotaged the plane. But a lot of people are interested in that. But I don't know. A lot of people believe he still might be alive. That's a possibility.
That could be. Yeah, I mean, I know myself here at the Patriot Hour, probably I could speak for Fluid Pour. We, early on, really interested. We both would love that. Who wouldn't? That would definitely shake a lot of, that would be huge for the movement if he was able to dupe them, and then have all the proof that showed that they did this. They were trying to kill him way back then. He had to go underground. I mean, if you think about a 20-year military op, not so crazy. I mean, if this orchestration we're in deals with bloodlines going back to antiquity, an evil plan that predates our Constitution and goes back to antiquity, and the bloodlines coming up, and that's thousands of years of evil in the works. What's so wrong with a 20-year Patriot plan? Some actual good kind of. It's not that far fetched that he might have went underground, or if not, let's say he did die in that plane wreck on accident. However, maybe he still had a lot of research that was bundled up, and that he was able to get over to somebody like Trump or some other people that started planning. A plot to overthrow. So either way, it's like he's alive. That's icing on the cake. If not, we're probably working off some of his research that he was dug into all those years, and found lots of things out. I think they had a lot of money. We all know money and power is two of the things that get you a lot. You can either be a politician and be dirty with it, but if you have lots of money and some power, and you very rarely do those people use that for good. But if you do, you can do lots of good with that too as well. Money and power. Find out the right things. Make yourself look like you're no longer alive. You can do things.
Is he also going to maybe run for senator against Hillary?
Yes, sir. 99.
Yeah. Q's post tells us the start of it all. 1999. There's a post that drops. It says 1999. The start of it all. Look into JFK Jr. and Trump's relationship? ? Then it says HRC Senate 2000. So we know that Hillary's like, I'm going to run for New York Senate in 2000. And then it comes out, damn it, a Kennedy's running. She probably looks at Bill like, I'm running. And the first year that I'm going to run, I got to run against a damn Kennedy? Are you serious? Think about that. She wouldn't have won.
Ain't no way.
Not against a Kennedy, not up in New York.
Nope.
They're not even from New York. They're from Arkansas.
Q talked a lot about JFK Jr. Q talked a lot about JFK Jr.
Nah, he answered some questions. I know people are like, is JFK dead? And he's like, yes. But then people point to that's JFK. And it's like, well, the junior is not underlined. Well, once the dad dies, is a junior? Not anymore, because the junior drops because the dad's dead. So there, I don't know, there's some gameplay, some questions to be answered. I think disinformation is very necessary. Like I said, I couldn't run a military op to save the world and also have a back channel right on the internet just telling everybody else what's going on. That wouldn't work. You have to people are like, well, this Friday came and something was supposed to happen. And then if you really look into what was supposed to happen, you see that it's a bad decode, like myself. Reading a Q post like, when the time is ripe, the harvest to be ready. And then I'm like, that's next Friday because it's harvest day according to the calendar. I mean, that's my own interpretation of what they said. And then I can promote next Friday arrest. And when it didn't happen, people are like, ugh, Q sucks. Instead of saying, Patriot Hour was wrong.
Yeah.
But we don't try to give dates and any of that. We just are following this big narrative of Q was right, or Flynn was, innocent. There's a bunch of guilty people that were trying to take Trump down, and they used treason, and they sold our country out. And I'm pretty sure we've been right on about all of that stuff. Now the arrest, if that doesn't happen, then I can't really move forward at all because there's been too much injustice in this country. So for me to be a little bit more okay with, even if we do have a mild form of the FBI, I think some of these agencies aren't going to survive. I think the CIA is done. These people always promise, we'll never do it again. 9/11 for a perfect example. Doug, you brought that up. One of the main reasons they talked about we didn't get to the bottom of that or we couldn't stop it was because the inner agencies didn't talk. They blamed it when you got down to the courts, like, well, the FBI was tracking these terrorists into the country, and then they were going from here to there. But then the CIA had this other part of the information, and since there was compartmentalization, the two agencies didn't talk. That's our problem. We've signed some paperwork now that allows that to not happen anymore. That's what they said. But this time for Trump Russia, you had the FBI tracking some Russian guy, and then it leads to this Russian guy talking to some American, and that ended up being Carter Page. So then the FBI starts looking at this Carter Page and then really quickly realize he's CIA. So then they call the CIA like, hey, we got a guy that we're looking at, Russian, and he interacted with this American named Carter Page. You know anything about him? Well, yeah, he works for us. That really doesn't work for us over here at the FBI for our mission, so we're just going to omit that. And then they hang up the phone and don't put it in because it didn't go with their narrative. So even now they talked, they'd have to go back to court and be like, well, 9/11, the buildings fell because of intercompartmental mingling and people not talking, and you didn't get the information. This time it looks like they talked. Yeah, this time we had human error. The human didn't like what he heard, so he took it out. This is going to be another spin on on something not working. Last time it was paperwork wasn't there. This time the human didn't like what he heard, so he had a syntax error. Can't win, folks, ever. So we need to tear those agencies down, and maybe not have so many. We don't need 17 intelligence agencies anyway, do we?
Yeah.
I think we got 18 now.
Tough to fight the government, though.
Yeah. Well, we know anytime the government gets a new, we need a new oversight committee. That's another office, 200 people, another budget shoving towards it, and you're never going to get rid of that. That's how they work. Everybody says the government's too big, we need to shut them down. And then when you preach that we need to shut them down, I'm screaming it here, you're screaming it there. Then they show up in your town in South Carolina at some base saying, we're going to shut this base down. It's excessive. We don't need it. You guys are saying we need smaller government. But then that whole town gets really mad because maybe a lot of you work at that base. And you're like, well, hell, why are you shutting this one down? We want smaller government, but we didn't want you to shut the one down here. And so then they don't. You guys are able to stop it with your voice and not get it shut down. And they don't shut nothing down. And then they go to the next town maybe a year later and threaten to shut it down. And then those people are upset. So nobody's willing to have the government shut down in your local area, but everyone wants smaller government. You got to be logical. You got to give somewhere. You guys can learn new jobs. I know some of those jobs at the government bases are cush and easy, and you're thinking, I'm going to be here until I'm, retired. But you can learn new things. If not, then we're never going to get anywhere.
I wonder if we can keep the MAGA movement going after Trump. Say he wins another 4 years. Can we keep the MAGA movement going, after Trump is out of office?
Well, yeah, we got, the next Don Jr. going to be up there. So that's another 8 years of Trump. And then
I think Ivanka's going to be our first female president.
There you go. So there's another Trumpski.
Maybe Pence. I don't know.
I don't know.
Exciting to see this guy get in there. Such a non-politician who's really fixing things, but I hope it'll last more than 8 years. And maybe we can.
Yeah, I mean, what in all your years of voting and seeing different presidents and different administrations, did this one spark you a little different as well? I mean, you were paying attention. You saw the positive, or you've seen him trying to do positive.
Conspiracy theorists, they believe like every president who gets in there is put there by, the Bilderberg Group and the Council on Foreign Relations. Trump broke through that, it was a miracle, So if we get more guys like in there who aren't being put there by the deep state, then maybe we can break up all these agencies, like you say, too much. You say the CIA should go down, and I guess the only way that can happen is if we get more non-establishment presidents like Trump, you know?
Yeah.
I think
what do they call that? De facto president? If you go all the way back to, what, 33 with the Emergency Banking Relief Act and all those things. Doug, that's some good information for you to look into.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's right.
As far as
it's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Yes. No more dynasties. That's what people are saying. Yeah, now we laugh about all the Trumps coming in. I wouldn't want it either because I didn't really like the fact that you had Bush. I think we almost had the third one. We had Dad, and then, Bush Jr., and then Jeb. And it's just like, wow, what are these? They say, like, it's really astronomical to, be president but you had three people out of the same family almost do that. And that's like, is there any other bloodline or last name worthy of being president? Clinton. Yeah. It's been a Clinton or a Bush in office since I've been born, some way, shape, or form. Because Bush Sr. was vice president all through the 80s under Reagan.
He was really maybe controlling the White House and that's what some people think, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how can you deny people? Like, it's
maybe
all rigged.
he was behind. Maybe he was behind the attempted assassination of Reagan. Some people believe that Bush was behind it, and then after that, Reagan was incapacitated. I think some people think Bush was really running the White House then.
Oh, wow. That was his dream. He was trying to get in early. Well, that's the other thing. I can ask you, Doug, like, where were you for 9/11? And you'd probably be like, I was at the market and or something. Everyone knows if you probably do a book on that could be a whole book. You could just go around and ask anyone, where were you on 9/11? Oh, I was just left work. And, people just seem to remember. I mean, they asked George Bush, the old one, the father, Herbert Walker, where were you when Kennedy got shot? He couldn't remember. And that was equivalent, they said, to our 9/11 for like my generation, 9/11. But back then, and you probably remember, grandparents, my mom said everyone was crying. The whole, like, everyone was just in shock that JFK died, but he couldn't remember where he was. And there's like pictures of him down there, Oh yeah, that's right. I was at the Daily Plaza. Like, oh, you didn't remember? Now that you mention it, I was there.
Well, there's a reason JFK labeled that magazine the name George.
That's what I said, George. Yeah.
2 and 2 together. He said, I will. If I have to take down the entire U.S. government to prove who killed my father, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, he said that.
Yeah.
I think it was probably the Cuban exiles who failed at the Bay of Pigs who probably were the shooters. And I heard that the ships that brought those Cuban exiles to the Bay of Pigs, one was called the Barbara and one was called the Houston. And that was Barbara was George Bush's wife, and the Houston is where he lived. I think it was called Operation Zapata, which was the name of his oil company, And then the guy who was handling Lee Harvey Oswald got in touch with George Bush later. The guy was George D. Marchand. I forget his last name.
Jeez.
Then also, John Hinckley apparently knew Bush's son, and he was supposed to meet with him that night. How does
that?
how does one guy know so many people connected to JFK assassination and Reagan attempt?
Just coincidences,
Yeah, I was just going to say, it brings up that
just
that
a long string of coincidences, man, that all lined up. It's just like the 17 errors with the FBI. Like, you can have errors at a business or miscalculations, but when each one of them give you the next advancement in your process, like this guy admitted that this guy worked for the CIA because they wanted, it looks like that he was talking to Russians. Unless you put on there, he worked for CIA. That's why he was talking to Russians, to play them along like anyone else would do, doing their job. But nah, it doesn't work for us, so we'll take that out. And then that error allowed you the next process. And then in that next process, there was an error that led you to the next process. They had 17 of them that all stacked up to be like that, like things to get what you wanted. not any other kind of air. It's kind of funny when airs all like stack up like a dominoes in a line, and if you hit one, they all. It's like, wow, that's pretty coincidental that your lies and everything were just great. They all your lies really worked to get you what you wanted. That FISA report, you know, extra FISA, extra spying. Well, it was just some clerical errors. No, it wasn't. They were meticulous, malicious errors. So, all right. Well, we are already at like the hour 20, you guys. We went an hour and 20 minutes.
Awesome show. Awesome show.
Always goes so quick. Doug, we'll email again, or you got my number now, so text me or whatever. Tomorrow is off. I think we got our 6 p.m. evening show, and I'm not 100% sure on that. But then other than that, Monday morning will be our next live show. But if you want to go Monday evening or Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, let me know. Any day next week we can work it out to go.
Yeah, I'll email you. All right, great. I'll email you.
What works best for you? Yes.
It's been fun.
It's been great. And again, everybody, his book, I'm going to show his little spinny thing here again real quick. American Conspiracies and Cover-ups. Again, cover-ups. And that link's going to be down below. Amazon, right? And I got the link down below. I'll make sure it's there.
Oh, yeah. Thanks a lot. I got to bring tell my friend, he's an author at the same publisher who published me, to come on here. I think his name is Donald Jeffries. He knows a lot about politics and history. I think he'd be a good guest here.
That'd be great. Yeah, set him up with. We'll get in touch with him.
Also, good. I might be able to get Sean Stone on here, Oliver Stone's son. I email with him sometime.
Yeah, so that'd be great. I'd love it. Now, that's another thing. I just saw a tweet. Stone's supposed to be coming out with a new JFK documentary.
Oh, a documentary?
Yeah, like a 4-hour. Something. I thought it was coming out here in May, maybe actually the end of May or early June. And I don't know. It's supposed to be a really good one. I saw an Oliver Stone tweet, and it just said some kind of.
Oh yeah.
And I liked his 92 movie. You know, 1992.
It did a lot of good. You know, got a lot of truth out about the JFK assassination.
Yes. So. All right, fellas. Thank you again, the whole audience. Real quick, let's. You guys want to shout out where you're from? With this many people, it's always a great time just to let Doug know where you guys are checking in from for this podcast. Let me make this a little bigger here. Here I go. Whoa. Go 300.
Looks good.
There it is. It's going quick. Look at that. Ohio.
Look at them all. Wow. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Bradford, PA.
Vegas.
Kentucky. Man.
Texas.
People
Falky,
everywhere.
New York. Fakey, New York. Alaska. Mississippi, MISSISS, California, Alaska, North Kakalaki.
UK.
United Kingdom. Yes, sir.
Alabama.
Alabama. Roll Tide.
Worldwide, Randy Robin.
Worldwide.
Mount Shasta. Florida. Massachusetts.
You saw that Florida in the house, didn't you?
Yeah.
They're watching you on TV just around the corner.
A popular show, gee.
Dollywood.
Bird's Nest.
Yeah.
Virginia. Edinburgh,
Scotland.
Scotland.
Edinburgh,
Dang.
Scotland.
Australia.
Jersey.
Arizona. Ding Dong, Texas. Hawaii. Arizona. Little St. James.
And don't forget Patriot Fest, August 14th, 15th, 2020, Bristol, Indiana.
Yes. Massachusetts gun shops. Japan, dang.
Wow, that's a first.
Bum F Egypt. Cincinnati. Living on the edge in Cincinnati. WKRP. Elkhart, Ohio, New Jersey. Good night. People are saying. Arizona. Guantanamo Bay. This place is getting crowded, he said. A little bit of Gitmo. Southern Cali.
Send us some photos if you can.
None of those ones like the last time with those, when they did all the photos. Remember, Greg? You were part of that group, weren't you?
I don't recall. Thanks, Mike.
It's when they all took pictures with the prisoners, like, and humiliated all the Muslims, like, and like the soldiers there pointing at like private parts, and they all went down for that.
Was not involved.
You said he couldn't remember.
He does this to me all the time, Doug. He does this to me all the time. I must have the Biden syndrome going on. Yeah, you know the thing.
Yeah, I think I was there. He's like, I'm here running. Listen to what I got to say. If you like me, vote. If not, vote for the other guy. That's what he said the other night. It was real quick. I was like, dang. Yes.
It's like he's going to
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like he's really losing his mind. But why are they calling that out? They would have called Trump out on it. He's losing his mind, folks. He can't be. They tried to say
they already did, didn't they?
The 25th Amendment, that is, our president is just incapacitated. He can't think. We need to get him out of there. And that's the case with Biden already, but they're not. They're trying to get him in.
It's only a one-way street, not two.
Yeah.
Advertising just built naturally, or did you do a lot of advertising?
What's that now?
I mean, like, you got so many followers. Did you advertise?
Nothing. We just kept coming on. I just kept going day after day, and I was like, man, we got 100 subscribers now, and it just kept growing and growing naturally, very organically. YouTube did a bunch of unnatural, unorganic algorithm blocks and screwed us. So they don't like organic. Like, we can't stand that people naturally like freedom and liberty and them talking about that, and we must stop that.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. All right, we'll shut this one down. Look for me and Doug again this week coming up. I'll make sure I get an announcement out to all you great patriots. Fluid pour, I'll probably see tomorrow night or Monday morning. We'll get that worked out.
Roger.
And thank you guys for being here. Get his book.
Thanks, guys.
Shoot hit.
Link down below.
Thanks a lot.
All right, we'll see you guys.
You're welcome, Doug.
All right. What a great show. We love it. Doug's a great guy. Fluid pour, glad they can join us. Get that book. Help support. This is a tough time. People are locked down. He put a lot of work, a lot of research. I know that I want to write a book eventually, and I hope you guys will support me as well. It's just what a better way to get some of that information, to own it. You're going to learn new things just like we've been doing here together. So again, help support all Patriots if you can. Again, I'm Michael. This is the Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you, and we'll see you back here on the next Patriot Hour update video coming real soon. Have a great evening. God bless all the Patriots.